Now he's eating. Sorry. Blue, can you wait a little bit? Do you mind? Back up. Hi folks, welcome. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. My name is Elizabeth and this is Reading Riley. If you are here for the first time, please go ahead and subscribe down below and hit the little bell, and then you will be notified from my future content. So today we're going to be discussing some books that are on my radar, and I'm going to talk about some 2021 releases. Mostly books that are just in my kind of wheelhouse, so some fantasies, some thrillers, some romance, some YA, so kind of a jumble of things, but I've been following other people's booktube 2021 releases and kind of picking here and there of things that sound interesting to me, or there are some, of course, that I'm already aware of that I'm just really excited for in general. So we're going to discuss books that are being released from January till June. So just for the first half of the year, nothing overwhelming, just a few books here and there that have piqued my interest that I am going to most likely read. Maybe not definitely read, but things that I am perked up about. I have two releases on January 12th. The first release is The Frozen Crown by Greta Kelly. We're following a princess, Askia, and she is the heir to Saravesh, and in her country, she is being invaded by people that are wanting to enslave her people. She's overwhelmed, she's over her head. So she goes down south to the neighboring country to visit the Emperor Arman and to get some advice as to what she can do to get out of the situation she's in. But apparently she has a hidden magical talent, and it sounds like comes to a point where she either has to expose herself in order to save her people, or she's basically going to be doomed. So I think this is going to be exciting. This is kind of a secret magic. It sounds like in this world, magic is frowned upon maybe, or very rare, and so she's going to have to battle with that, and I'm guessing she's going to have some amazing powers, and I'm excited to see how this world building is going to come together. So that's my first book. My second book that I want to read that also came out January 12th. So actually, as I'm recording this, these are both already out. Also, the next one, by the time you see this video, will be released as well. So if you're intrigued, just go ahead and pick those up. So the next one is The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry by C.M. Waggoner. Okay, so from what I gather about this one, it is a historical fantasy with a sapphic romance. So you have Delia, also known as Deli, who is this heavy drinker, kind of scoundrel type character. I'm guessing she's going to be quick-witted and clever, and she is down on her luck, and she fast talks her way into this high-paying job as a female security guard. So she's protecting this lady, and I guess with a gang of other female security guards. Why they're all female, I don't know, but I'm not complaining about it. Because rock on, go ladies. So this person that they're protecting is being sought after by assassins from what seems like every angle. And so their job is to protect this person. And in the midst of that, there is some kind of magical factor that they are going to discover along the way. And she also begins to form a relationship with one of the other bodyguards named Win. That's all I know about this, but it sounds great. So I'm excited to read that. The next book, we have the release date of January 19th, and that is Winterkeep by Kristin Cashore. And this is a YA fantasy series as well. This is going to be a continuation of the Graceling series. So, if you've not heard of the Graceling trilogy, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you about it because this is one of my favorite series. I'm so excited for this new release. So the first book is called Graceling, and this is following Katsa. She is a Graceling. They are identified because they have two different colored eyes, and in this world, she is raised by her uncle, who is king or in charge. It's been a while since I've read these, and I actually want to reread these, but I'm also rereading Sarah J. Maas for that upcoming, so it's just a lot of stuff that I need to get through in the next coming months. But anyway, so Katsa, everyone who is a Graceling has this crazy skill, and it could be anything from killing, which is her skill, to being a super fast swimmer, or being able to interpret dreams. It can be literally anything. So she has this skill of killing, and so her uncle is ruthless and uses her as his kind of mercenary, and she kind of beats people up and gets them to fall in line, but she hates this life, and knows she's a better person than that, and she hates herself for winding up how she has. Meanwhile, she comes across Prince Poe, and they have to solve this other mystery of something that's going on in these faraway lands, and this unexplainable sequence of events. She ends up falling for Prince Poe. They kind of bring the best out in each other, but they have this kind of hate to love trope between them, which is so much fun. And he is a Graceling as well. He's a skilled fighter, and so he is really the only one who can match her in strength and wit, and they kind of break each other down to build each other up again. Anyway, these are amazing, so I highly suggest you read it. The second book, which one is the second one? I think it's Bitter Blue, and this follows Bitter Blue, and who is like a princess, and she's dealing with having her own kingdom. So this goes into that, and then you have Fire, which is following another main character. They're all interwoven, and they all live in the same world, and all of these characters are so well done. It's so much fun getting to discover the different skills and talents and the graces that each of them have. So there's that. Winterkeep is a continuation of Bitter Blue's story, kind of. So I guess Bitter Blue was probably the third in the series. So it starts 4 years after we left off with Bitter Blue, and they discover a new nation in which there's people that speak telepathically to each other, and they speak telepathically to the animals. And we have a new character that's introduced, and apparently Bitter Blue is going to cross the sea to check out this new land that they've discovered, and her ships sink, she gets kidnapped, and then this new character has to have some kind of vital part in discovering the mystery of this new place and connecting everything together. So I'm gonna read that tomorrow. It comes out tomorrow for me in my time. So it'll be yesterday that it'll come out for you. So check it out if you're interested. The next book I have comes out January 21st, and that is Ask No Questions by Claire Allan. Okay, so this book is a crime thriller. 25 years ago on Halloween night, Kelly Doherty went missing. 2 or 3 days later, she is found face down in the reservoir by a couple of her classmate friends. And then now in present time, 25 years later, we have a journalist, Ingrid Devlin, who is kind of poking her head around and trying to figure out what actually happened to this girl, Kelly Doherty, 25 years ago, but it comes to fruition that somebody is trying to stop her on this quest, and she starts to uncover things about the Doherty family, secrets of their past, so to speak. So that's all the information we have on that. So I'm sure it's going to be some kind of crazy family, domestic, weird, I don't even know, but it sounds good. So that's on my list here. Next we have If I Disappear by Eliza Jane Brazier. Oh man, so I think this is like a YA thriller. We're following Sarah, and she is obsessed with true crime podcasts, which I completely relate to because I love true crime as well. Excuse my dog as he tiptoes around. So her favorite true crime podcast narrator, what do you call them? Host, disappears. Then Sarah becomes obsessed with finding out what happened. So she ends up finding these secret hidden clues within the episodes of the podcast that lead her to this like abandoned place outside of Rachel's hometown. And from what I understand, Rachel is not the first person to have gone missing, and I get the sinister feeling that she was actually lured there. And Sarah has gotten herself into something that she probably will wish she hadn't. So anyway, this one comes out on January 29th, and it looks really good. The cover is beautiful, and I'm super stoked to check that out. I do have that pre-ordered, so I will be reading that as soon as it comes out, probably. So February 2nd, I have 2 books, the first of which is going to be Winter's Orbit. That is by Everina Maxwell. So from what I understand, this is a queer sci-fi romance. And this is from the same author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I enjoyed. And the covers, put it up here, the cover is just beautiful as well. So it sounds like the prince is killed, and then his widower is pushed into a relationship for political reasons. They're trying to avoid a war, so they're pushing these 2 people together, and they're trying to solve the mystery. I think it's going to be another hate to love trope, and it sounds like they are being forced to get along so that they can kind of uncover what actually happened and maybe fall in love along the way. So it sounds really cute. Next, we have A History of What Comes Next by Sylvan Neuvel. So this is a sci-fi thriller set in the 1940s. It's said to be reminiscent of Blake Crouch and Andy Weir. Supposed to be kind of a dark thriller. It's set around the time of World War II. We're following Mia, and she's on a mission to lure Werner von Braun away from the Nazi party over to the American side to help them with building rockets, I guess. It's going to be a dark satire following the women who have tried to change history and make history, and the men who have tried to stop them. So that sounds very intriguing. I'm guessing there's going to be some kind of time travel in this if they're trying to go back and change history, but I could be totally wrong. Don't quote me on that. February 16th, we have 2 as well. We have The Minders by John Maas, and this one I've been waiting for forever. After I fell in love with the one, I have been following him and his books, and I think this one was released in the UK before it was released here. I don't know why it kept getting pushed back, but it's finally coming out. I also have this one pre-ordered, and let me tell you what it's about. So this is another kind of sci-fi psychological thriller by John Maas, and it's commenting about cyber terrorism. So in this world, it's going to be another one that's like 5 minutes into the future, super relatable to us. So they have somehow manipulated information that is too sensitive to be put on any kind of computer, as it may risk being hacked. And they have managed to put it into the genetic code of 5 different people. They are going to be called the Minders. They are the secret keepers. They know every conspiracy theory, every government lie, everything that they cannot risk getting out. Somebody finds out that this is a thing and who the 5 people are, and one by one they're being hunted down. So this is going to be interesting how that unravels and if the secrets come out and what they're holding and how they did this. So yeah, I'm super stoked to get that one read. That'll be February 16th. Also on the same day, we have Sarah J. Maas, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. It is the 5th installment of ACOTAR, if you count the novella, which I don't know why you would not. A Court of Frost and Starlight. And this one is going to be following Nesta. So I just started my reread of ACOTAR. And I'm halfway through the first book, and I have to say so far, I'm enjoying it just as much as I did the first time. It's kind of interesting to go into it, especially the first book, because I feel like so much has happened since then, and to be able to go into it with the knowledge of what happens and how far we've come from there, but also being reminded of how much I love Sarah J. Maas's writing. I'm listening on Audible and I've got it at 1.5 speed because I know what's happening. I don't have to pay as close of attention. So yeah, this one's one of my most anticipated. If you like fantasy, if you like fairies, and you have not read Sarah J. Maas, I highly what is the word I'm looking for? Highly recommend her. She's huge, so I assume, most people that read fantasy know who she is. But gosh, I just love her writing. I love her world building. I love this world in general. This was my first book that I ever read that had fairies or fae, and I love all of the character arcs. And Nesta has been coming around in the last couple of books. We obviously hate her in book 1, but she's kind of growing on me. So I'm really interested to see where her character goes in this next installment and to see kind of what happens in her life. And I'm sure we'll meet all of our other characters that we are already in love with, and I'm sure we'll also meet some new characters. So that'll be a great fun. All right, March 23rd, we have another thriller that is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. In this psychological thriller, we're following Abigail, and she is marrying a millionaire, and she found a guy. I guess her past relationships have been not great, but this guy seems level-headed, he's kind, she marries him, but before that, she has a one-night stand at her bachelorette party with some random guy who gave her the wrong name, didn't even give her his real name. So she kind of puts that behind her, she marries him, and then she goes on this idyllic honeymoon. Well, apparently this guy shows up convinced that what they had was special, and he hunts her down, and she has to decide whether or not she's going to deal with this crazy guy on her own, involve her husband, then she'd have to confess that she cheated, and then apparently there's something else going on with the town where there's some weird woman that keeps showing up, and things just seem off, but nobody else seems to feel or understand that there is something wrong here except for her. And so she's isolated and in crisis. Next, June 1st, we have 4 books coming out. The first one is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. So this is following Clara. In this world, the witches are in control of the climate and climate change and everything. And whatever season you're born in, that is the type of witch you have. So you have technically 5 different types of witches. You have autumn, winter, spring, and fall. And then Clara, she is the 5th kind, and she can control all seasons. So she's going to be like a coming of age, and I think it takes you through the seasons and shows you how she is coming to terms with her own power. I'm guessing she's going to be super powerful, and there's someone who's training her, and she's having feelings with them, and apparently her life has been torn apart because of her magic, and probably because she can't control her magic, so she's lost her family. And so as this guy is training her, she starts to, guy or girl, I don't remember, could be, but as her trainer is training her, they start to have feelings, and then meanwhile the climate is getting out of control and she may be the only one that can help, but she's also afraid of losing this person that she has this growing relationship with because of her powers, because her power is so great, I'm guessing. So this I'm really interested in. Sounds great. Next, on June 1st, we have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Oh, so this is going to be kind of a sci-fi romance, YA. I think it's YA. The cover looks YA anyway. This is a sapphic romance. We're following August, and she lives in New York, and she kind of is lost and not really knowing what to do with her life. So she's waiting tables at this 24-hour pancake diner. She's kind of just cynical. She doesn't believe in love stories. She's trudging through life. And then one day on the subway, she comes across this girl who just seems so magical and mysterious and kind of that punk grunge kind of flavor to her. And come to find out, this girl, Jane, has time traveled from the 1970s, and so they meet, they form a relationship to try to get her back to her own time, and meanwhile they fall in love, and of course they're going to come to that conflict where, okay, they might figure it out, but then do they want to? Because then they'll have to be separated. And it sounds really sweet and romantic and kind of a fresh take, and I love time traveling tropes, so I'm here for it. Next, we have The Darkness Outside Us by Eliot Schrefer. So this is also a queer sci-fi romance following Ambrose and Kodiak. Ambrose wakes up, he's in space, he has no recollection, except that he's on a mission to save his sister, from what I understand, but there are some strange things going on. There's evidence that there have been other people there. His mom's voice is the voice of the ship, and I think we have a sentient ship situation. Meanwhile, Kodiak is the only other person on the ship with him, and he's kind of stowed himself and kind of hidden away somewhere. So, and they're supposed to be sworn enemies. So this is definitely going to be a hate to love trope. There's going to be a space mission. It's going to be an outwitting the ship AI type of thing. So again, sounds amazing. And then lastly, for June 1st, we have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I love the Silent Patient, so I'm super excited to see what he has coming out next. I'm just going to read this one to you because I have not delved into what this is yet, but it's a psychological suspense thriller, and it adds in Greek mythology, murder, obsession, and so Edward Fosca is a murderer. We also follow another character called Mariana. But Fosca, Edward, is untouchable. He's handsome, he's charismatic, he's a Greek tragedy professor at Cambridge. He's adored by everybody, particularly by the members of a secret society of female students known as the Maidens. Okay, I'm remembering now, it's coming back to me. So he has like this cult following of creepy little girls that want to bone him, apparently. Mariana is brilliant but troubled. She's a group therapist who becomes fixated on the Maidens when one member, a friend of her niece, is found murdered at Cambridge. Okay. So Mariana, who was once herself a student at the university, quickly suspects that behind this idyllic beauty of the spires and turrets and beneath the ancient tradition lies something sinister. That sounds cool. And then despite this teacher, Fosca's alibi, she thinks that he was the killer. But why would the professor target one of his students, it says? And why does he keep returning to the rites of Persephone, the maiden, and her journey to the underworld? And then there's another body found. Mariana's obsession with proving Fosca's guilt spirals out of control, threatening to destroy her credibility as well as her relationships. But she's determined to stop this killer, even if it costs her everything, even her own life. So, that's going to be good. And lastly, I have June 29th. This one I'm very much looking forward to. It is Survive the Night by Riley Sagar. And this is a thriller that is set in the 90s. Apparently there is a serial killer on the loose, and our protagonist needs a ride back home like you do in college sometimes. You put your what you need on a message board. And of course there's no cell phones, which is why it's set in the 90s. Very quick problem solving on Sagar's part. So she does a message board, she puts up, I need a ride to whatever, and she ends up getting a ride. And as she is on this ride home, I think, she starts to think that this person who is giving her the ride may very well be this killer, and she may have to fear for her life. So I'm guessing survive the night. I'm guessing this is going to be one night for this whole book, and a tale of her trying to escape whoever this crazy psychopath person is. So very excited for that. That's another one I have pre-ordered, so I'll be reading it as soon as it comes out, and I will definitely tell you what I think. That being said, thank you. If you are still with me, I appreciate you. That's going to be it for now. I'll probably come back maybe in June with the rest of the year, things that are on my radar. And if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe, like, leave a comment below if you have other new releases that are coming out in this year that you think I may be interested based on this kind of grouping of types of books that I'm into. Please let me know. If you are going to be reading any of these, let me know as well. Maybe we can buddy read or something. There are certain ones that I'm definitely going to be reading. Winterkeep, If I Disappear, The Minders, The Court of Silver Flames, Survive the Night. So definitely those I will be absolutely reading, and probably most of the other ones as well. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will see you next time. And don't forget, life is short, so read Riley. Bye, y'all.